back. Thank you, Angie.
Absolutely, and welcome back. We just finished our Caffeine and Connections meeting. What a wonderful meeting.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was so good. And for those that don't know, I'm Angelina, also known as Angie, and I'm the host of Caffeine and Connections. You can find us on meetup.com. And I am here with our very own Lady KC. This is our Caffeine and Connections highlight. This is highlight number 2 for KC,
Yes.
where we are doing the family edition. We said in her very first highlight that we have to come back. We're probably going to have another one even after this one because what we're doing is we're uncovering the stories of our Caffeine and Connections members, right? If
Mhm.
you ever attended a Caffeine and Connections meetup, you hear the introductions, but you only get like a snippet of that person unless you really get a chance to listen more and more and more and have a one-on-one, right? So this is kind of like our one-on-one that we're exposing and giving other people insight into, right?
Absolutely. And I'm so
So I
excited.
am too, because we talk about this and I've heard part of the story, but I know that there's so much more to it and I'm excited to talk about it. And honestly, the reason why we're doing a family edition is because, I mean, what is family, right? Like, if we, with Caffeine and Connections, we talk about a little bit of everything, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
Black professionals coming together to connect, to network, and things like that. But we're also building relationships. And one of our very first relationships is usually based on our family.
Absolutely.
And but the thing is, there's so many different dynamics, especially when we talk about the Black family,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
um, the history of the Black family, and then the unique nature of the experiences of the Black family. So I'm excited
Absolutely.
to hear yours. So you ready for this?
I am ready.
So let's first do your introduction. Let us know who you are, where you're calling in from, and what you do.
Okay. I'm Lady KC, and I'm calling in from St. Petersburg, Florida. Also, what I do is I'm the host of Saturday Morning Investor Group. God placed that on my heart in terms of sharing with us and sharing with our families about investing and coming together every Saturday to love on each other. I didn't know a whole lot, but I heard the voice that if you started, I'll send the people, and definitely people are coming. So I'm happy about that. Also, on the side, I retired from Sprint as a network engineer and analyst. I worked for Sprint for about 32 years. And working on mainframes, I became a DJ, taught myself. And so from time to time, I'm out sharing ministry of music.
DJ Lady KC.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I have DJ'd on the dinner cruise out of Largo, Florida, and also out of, not Largo, but
Clearwater.
Clearwater and St. Peter's. No, Tampa and um, Clearwater. Absolutely. So
Cool.
I enjoy music, and I'm so thankful early on getting a great foundation from my parents that were um, in the ministry in the Pentecostal church. I'll say it like that. What a foundation. And if you don't have a spiritual foundation, you are missing something. But I'm so thankful I got that.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. Well, we could talk about that, can't we?
Yes, we can.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. We might have to somehow include that in this conversation, right?
Hmm.
Because that spiritual background, the foundation of who we are as young people and how it develops us, especially when you grow up in that type of church environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It sustains you when your back is against the wall. And so many times my back has been against the wall. And thank God for knowing the Word of God. Thank God for the knowing the power of prayer. Thank God for knowing um, the power of having faith and believing. And just because your situation looks like what it looks like now doesn't mean that a month or down the road it's going to continue to look like that. And so, sometimes we just need to get happy in the praise and know that whatever we're going through, God is taking us through that for a particular reason.
I always say everything is temporary.
Yes,
Trouble does not last always.
always.
It does not.
Absolutely. All right, Nels.
It does not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This and what's the phrase? This too shall pass. It all is in alignment, right? It's all
It
the
is.
same. So yeah, that's good wisdom that you share. It just you hopefully the people when they hear that kind of those phrases, hopefully that
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't want to say it means more to us because we grew up hearing it, but you have to believe it, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
experience it for yourself and you know that
Mm-hmm.
that those are true and real, it
Absolutely.
hits a little different when you hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a part of your spiritual DNA.
Yep.
And I see a lot of times, we're struggling with past um, trauma and things like that. But I learned early on to totally surrender my will and totally look at whatever I've gone through. I lost my son in 2020 and totally, and I hurt every day, but just totally, asking God for strength to make it, like the prayer, give me this day my
Yeah.
daily bread, that I can just make it through this day and trusting God and knowing that He's going to, when I can't, when I don't have the strength, He's going to carry me through and
Mm-hmm.
looking, for Him to do that and trusting and believing, and He does it every time.
Every time. Yeah, that faith walk is real. No matter what you look like, just I mean, the faith, right? And that's why even for me now, one of the things that is interesting, I was thinking about this. I was listening to one of the bishops I listened to on YouTube on Sundays, Bishop Dale C. Bronner. He talks about in one of his recent lessons the experience of reading the word, right?
Mm-hmm.
It changes as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
You hear different, you read different, your perception is different. And I think about that. Like for me, like I would, when you're a kid and you go to church, they tell you read your scriptures and learn certain scriptures, and you have to recite, and you're only
Yes.
doing it because they tell you you have to, but you don't really know what you're reading. It's just like you're reading it for to remember. But
Mm-hmm.
that's just the beginning, right? And then you
That's
get a
it.
little older, you start listening to the minister, and you start, but even now, this day and age, and maybe this is relevant to you too, is tapping into the word now is completely different than it was back then
Mm-hmm.
because your experience is different and it hits
Yep.
a little bit different.
Absolutely. And, we should be maturing spiritually, just
Yeah.
like naturally. None of us are walking around with sucking on a bottle. None
Mm-hmm.
of us are walking around here, hopefully, eating baby food. And so as you get older,
Hopefully.
hopefully, right. And as you get older, those things that's why I express a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that a lot of people, didn't have or don't have that foundation to really stand on God's word, and when you hear something over and over and over, it gets into your spirit, you know. I can do all things through Christ that strengthen me, not some things, but all things. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you. And when I look at that scripture, and I think it's Philippians 4 and 13, I can know with assurance, that God is with me. And no matter what I go through, the 23rd Psalm said, the Lord is my shepherd. I don't have to want for nothing. And
No
even
thing.
when we come against those trials and tribulations, the scripture says, yea, throughout that I walk through the valley and the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. So when we know that God is with us and He's carrying us when we can't carry ourselves, it's that assurance that we know. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, to me, it's that foundation. And as we get older, we just build on that foundation.
And just to piggyback off of that, what you're saying is it's one of the scriptures talking about. He talks about laying down your burdens, right? My yoke
Hmm.
is easy.
Hmm. And
Like
my
let it
burdens
go.
are light.
Like just let it go
Hmm. Let it go.
and trust in the Most High God.
Yeah, and
Where
trust
you
God.
doing?
Give it to Him. Whatever you're going through, give it to Him. But sometimes we just, we say we trust God, but we carry it with us,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere we go. But there is deliverance in just letting go and trusting God and just believing that He's got you.
Yeah.
And if you believe, if I say Angie jump from and we got you and we let you go, but if we say jump and we got you, then that says, wow, they got me. And that's what we have to know about God, that He has us. Because, see, those things that um, He has let come into our lives, those trials are only to make us strong. And when we go through them, then we have a testimony that we can share with somebody. Because if He took me through what He took me through with my family and my things in life, then I can tell you. And it's not something that, you're reading out of a book, but you can have a real person to share with you. And the Bible says we overcome by the words of our testimony.
And
And
it can
I'm
be
just
put. It can be put in a book.
all right now.
That's how
Yeah,
they
we
got the
all
Bible, right? Through all those people's experiences, all those stories.
absolutely. Hmm. So a lot of times, the way it looks like doesn't mean that that's the way, it's going to appear.
Yeah.
And, what is faith? Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So if
Yeah.
I'm going through a trial and it looks like this, I got to project my mind and say, God, I know you're going to work this out, and trust Him. And the more we trust Him, the more He gets busy to work things out in our lives. And that's what He did with my family.
And that's beautiful. This was a great start to this conversation because, what we're talking about for those listening, some people may not even have a single clue. They may not know the scriptures. They may not even understand what we're talking about because maybe they haven't experienced and they haven't built that relationship. Because this is not about religion,
Mm-mm.
this is about relationship. And when you have a relationship with your father, the creator, it just it helps to it helps it to make sense, right? This life,
Yes.
this journey. So let's talk. Let's continue this relationship talk and going back to families because obviously you have your spiritual foundation and then you have your familial foundation. Um, you know, I know you said. I think you said. I know you said it on highlight number one that you're from Kansas City, Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
born and raised.
Yes. Yes.
So talk to
Raising
us, huh?
in Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri are twin states. You can
Oh,
be in
great.
Kansas City, Kansas 1 minute and drive across the bridge like we do from St. Pete to Tampa, and you're in Missouri.
Oh, I
They're
never
just
knew
that
that.
close. Yes.
Huh, I
Twin
have to make a
cities.
trip.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I never knew that. Well, I just learned something else new today.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
that's cool. Well, okay, so being from there, tell us about how you grew up. Like, what was your household like?
Grew up with definitely a praying mother, and my father was a preacher, and so we were in church like, all the time. And I have 5 siblings, and so before Dad would preach, he would say, "I want my family to come and um, and sing." So we would sing. My brothers played guitar, drums, and things like that, almost like a gospel Jackson Five. And so we would be there, whether we wanted to be there or not. And like I said, I'm just so thankful for the love and that they shared with us. And mother was just so um she would leave the praise and worship at church, and I'm telling you, being Pentecostal, my brothers would play the guitar and the drums, and they would always ask mother. She'd even have a mic to lead the testimony service, and mother would have worked doing day work and things like that, and then coming home to be with her family. My father was a disabled veteran, so God would give her strength and energy, come and get us together, and then we would make our way to the church, walking through the projects, and there was six of us, and then plus my parents, eight. We didn't even have a car, two by two. We would be walking through the projects on our way to church, and mother would get there. I don't know how she did it. And when they would ask her to come and lead the testimony service, she would get one of those fiery songs. Why don't you try Jesus? He's all right. In the morning when I rise, and I'm telling, we would have our tamarines and everything. And, so whatever she went through during the day, she was giving praise and glory to God. And that's how I remembered her. Even in her 90s, I have videos of her still giving God the praise. And she was a praying woman. My father was a praying um, father. So I just thank God, because I was thinking everybody was raised like that. I thank God for that foundation.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you grew up with five siblings too. Like that's a lot.
Yes.
And all in one house. Where were you in the equation? The middle child, oldest child, youngest child?
I am the oldest
Oh,
of six.
wow.
Hmm.
That was a big responsibility for you then, huh?
It was. It was, trying to do the best I could because my father had a nervous breakdown when I was in grade school, and my mother, being in Kansas City, away from her family in Connecticut, she didn't know how to deal with it. She didn't have a support system. So I would come home from grade school and she would be in a fetal position, and I would be standing on boxes trying to cook for my siblings and trying to do the best I could. I didn't even go out for recess in grade school. I was in there with the teachers in the teachers' lounge trying to write out my menu to feed my siblings.
How old were you doing this? You said
Man, I
grade
was
school.
I was in grade school. I
When I
wasn't
think
in
of
the
that's elementary school
I
for
was
me.
in the third or fourth grade, something like that, and it was a heavy responsibility in fifth grade because I would have to go sometimes and pay the bills, and I couldn't even reach the counter, and people would pick me up, and I would drop the telephone bill or the gas or light bill. But, I knew I had to do this, and mother was trying to deal with her husband not being there and having six kids. And one day, she would always play gospel. One day, I heard this song said, Only believe all things are possible." And I went in there. That song just ministered to my spirit. I
Mm.
went in and grabbed my mother's hand. I said, "Mother, listen to this song. Only believe all things are possible. You've got to get out of this bed. You've got to, help me." And so she looked at me and she was shocked. She was like, "Whoa." And so she began to get up and began to tend to my siblings and my youngest brother. He looked at her and he like, "What are you doing?" And
You were
my
surprised.
mother like, "I'm your mother." He said, "No, you're not. Sherry is my mother,"
Oh my
which
goodness.
I'm Lady KC, but Sherry's my government name. And my
Hmm.
mother was shocked, and I think that shocked her to like, "Oh my God, I have been." And sometimes we depressed and don't even realize it, in terms of, our mental health. And but I started seeing her, with God's help, get up and really, tend to the kids and things like that. And my siblings, to this day, I don't think they realize what pressure, I was under in terms of trying to make sure not being perfect, being a kid myself, and trying to do the best I could.
Do you think your siblings remember all of that? Do they remember the state your mom was in back then, or even remember you cooking for them and doing all the things that an adult?
Well, from what I can hear, they remember that, I'm a kid, so, I had to try to keep things in line. And so they don't understand because it was like, "Why did you whip us?" And I'm just like, "I'm trying to keep you guys in line. We about the same age."
They're like, you a kid too. You
I'm
can't
a
whoop
kid
us.
too. I don't know what this is. So, and I'm hoping, they will get a better understanding of their sister by listening, to this recording that,
Yeah.
I didn't ask for that responsibility, but it fell on me.
Yeah.
And I tried to do, the best I could.
Yeah. What are the age gaps between you and your siblings?
Oh, we're just so close. We're just right behind each other.
Wow.
So therefore, I guess I was thinking I've got to get the belt or something because if not, they're going to do something to me. And so, it was an interesting dynamic, that kind of thing. So, yeah. So we're still as a family, you know, hopefully we'll be able to work through all of that, but there is some interesting feelings and I pray that, we
Yeah.
get past that in terms of my siblings.
Yeah. The family is so tough, especially when you have that kind of childhood. And a lot of people may not even excuse me, a lot of people may not even understand, the reason why they feel the way they feel. Because,
Mhm.
the traumas, right, from childhood, they tend to trigger you as an adult and you don't even recognize, and don't even know why, right? Just
Right.
because things happen and it's somewhere in the back of your mind. Like, I'm no psychologist, but we all have our own experiences, right? So,
Mhm.
but that is an interesting story. Wow, that says a lot. For one, you being the oldest child, and I could see, like, you're a leader in what you do. You're a leader, um, but you had to show those leadership skills very young and very early.
Mhm.
Wow,
In
God
grade
bless
school, like I said, I think I was probably in the third or fourth, you know.
you. That's so
And I was in the third grade, I'm sure, because in the fourth grade we moved to the projects, and that was like, oh my God, the suburbs to me, coming from where we were,
interesting.
because we lived right above a tavern, and sometimes we didn't have telephones then, and sometimes the people below would come upstairs and be kind of drunk, and we would push on the door to make sure they didn't come in, and
Mm,
we didn't have a TV. And I remember us getting little tops to a jar, saying, beating on the windowsills, "Mom, come home," and she would be gone to take care of business.
mm-hmm.
So, yeah, very, very, very um, interesting early days when I was a child.
Yeah, that is interesting, and thank you for sharing that story. I'm thinking about, like, how many people resonate with the story. It's very unique, but I know there's some people that probably went through something similar, if not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not even in your position, maybe in your siblings' position, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very interesting story. So, your mom, you hearing this music that was ministering to you, right? And then in turn, then ministering to your mom, because she's looking at you and she's hearing the music and she's just like, okay, let me get it together.
Yes.
Yeah, that had to been something special for you to kind of see as you seen her coming out of that shell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because
awesome.
sometimes we don't have people to talk to, even though she was involved in church. It's like, who do you tell when you? And sometimes we don't even realize that we are depressed.
Yeah,
We don't realize that we holding on to stuff that, if we believe in God, then we need to, let it go. And I think it's so good to have a good support system,
yeah,
that we can talk and be transparent.
yeah,
And that's really important to me, that whatever is going on, I need to have friends that I can say, this is going on.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's important also. Also, one thing I'm grateful for this day and age is the ability to find mental health counselors that are just more readily available, and people that even look like us, that we
Mm-hmm.
can feel a little bit more comfortable going to for issues like that, where it probably wasn't like that back then.
I'm sure it wasn't.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Boy, things sure have changed, huh?
Right. Because a lot of times we're told what happens in our home stays there.
Yep, that's a fact. Yeah.
You don't tell anybody the real. So what we do is we go through what we go through, And then I've noticed that, sometimes people make themselves who they want other people to like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not their authentic self.
Right.
And I want anybody that comes into my life to know that, okay, this is who I am. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm grieving, or if I'm going through something, or if I have something that the Spirit wants me to share, that's what you're going to get,
Yeah.
unapologetically. Hmm.
Unapologetically you. All
Unapologetically.
day, every day.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Golly, I mean, we're starting young. I'm sitting here like, where do we go now? We started elementary school, grade school, such a huge responsibility, but also that foundation of leadership starting
Hmm.
so early. So let's move from the elementary years and, as you're growing and developing into a young lady, still being the oldest of six children, what did that look like for you? Because I remember you telling a story about you being in school and one of your teachers um, talked to you about going to college,
Hmm.
right? And things
Yes.
like that. I mean, I feel like that experience, I mean, I know we're not talking about school right now and your education, but I do feel like that's a part of that story that people should hear, because I feel like that's what kind of transformed your mind
Hmm.
to go the direction you went. Can you share that?
I sure can. At this time, I'm in the eighth grade, and I'm hanging out with some um, friends in the hood, and fighting and doing all kind of crazy things. And one teacher, my home room teacher, Mrs. Helen Boswell, kept me after class, and I'm like, what? Everybody can leave but Sherry. And I'm just like, I ride the bus, and it's not a hop, skip, and jumps, but I stayed there, and she began to talk to my spirit, and that's so important. She began to ask me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I started thinking, maybe a receptionist, because mom takes me to the dentist and the doctor's office. In the office, I think I can answer a phone. And so she looked at me kind of puzzled, and she says, if you would stop hanging around those friends and make the honor society, you could be a great candidate to go to college. And I'm like, college? What in the world is that? And so that's exactly what I did. I walked home, and sometimes we just don't know when we dropping something in someone's spirit. I walked home and I thought to myself, if she believes in me, I'm going to do that. So from the eighth grade to the 12th grade, I was on the National Honor Society.
Wow.
And then another thing that happened is by me studying so much, I was put in advanced classes in high school. So that was awesome. And yeah, and I applied for, without my parents, I just applied for different schools to go to. And I was thinking, if I've been raised in an all black environment, um, I would like to see how the other world, you know, how they live. And so I started enrolling in predominantly white colleges and got accepted and a full ride to Ottawa University in Ottawa, Kansas, which
Wow.
was a culture shock.
I bet it was. I bet it
Yes.
was. So what was your favorite what was your favorite um God, I can't even think of what it is. Your favorite, did you like math, English, social studies? What was your favorite?
At that time in my point in life, it was like I wanted to be a social worker. We had social workers come into our home being on welfare and looking us over, looking in the refrigerator and looking in the closet. So I thought I could make a difference by being a black social worker instead of a white social worker. And so I majored in social work and a minor in psychology.
I think I was more, I'm sorry, I should have clarified because I got stuck in my words, but when you were in high school, right? So because you made it to the National Honor Society. right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what was your strong suit? Like, what is it that you? What was your strength? What subject is the word I couldn't think of. What was your favorite subject in high school?
I think my favorite subject was Spanish, and I
Really?
competed and yeah, yo hablo poquito español, no hablo mucho español.
Ah, muy
But
bueno.
I know I competed in different Spanish contests in Wichita State University, and I love Spanish. And Dick Gregory came to the campus, and I didn't listen, and he was saying that. We needed to major in, or we need to take Spanish, and I did not, and I wished I had. But the Spanish that I know has really helped me navigate some things in life, and so yeah, that was my favorite subject was
I
Spanish.
wasn't ready for that. I didn't know you were gonna say Spanish. I thought you were gonna say like social studies, and that's why you wanted to become a social worker or something along those lines. That is
Spanish.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool beans. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I couldn't think of that word. It was supposed to be what was your favorite subject in school? So Spanish was that. But the National Honor Society, that's pretty impressive. So I really love the fact that that teacher spoken like she ministered to your spirit where you just kind of what did you do? Leave your friends to the side? How did you nurture those relationships, knowing
Yeah,
that you were taking your education more serious?
I just gradually pulled away and really got into my books and the library. My mother would drop me off at the library and just studying and studying because it was something that she said it was attainable, and I'm going to work hard to find out. And because I wanted to get out of the inner city, I saw what it was, and I saw the struggle, and I wanted to get out. And I wasn't an athlete, so I'm just like, that means I'm gonna have to really get into these books.
Mm.
And I was even shocked when I went to Ottawa University how far advanced that my white counterparts were. I mean, it's like, oh my God. So I still spent a lot of time in the library, trying to catch up. The education is so different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how, when you did that, like when you went off to college or when you were even succeeding in high school, the siblings that you had at home, right? How were those relationships nurtured or developed? Do you feel like there was like this connection or what was it like at home?
I would come home sometimes. My sister followed me. She graduated. Like I said, we're just right behind each other, and she graduated, and I'm assuming she was, inspired. So she went to the same college that I went to, and then she went on and got her master's. My brothers, I'm thinking that it was really rough for them coming from that environment into in that time, the 70s, into a kind of like predominantly white environment. So they didn't stay. I think the adjustment was too hard and probably didn't have a lot of support.
Okay.
So, yeah, one of my brothers, he graduated and he was to go to Salina for architecture. And then two of my brothers came to Ottawa, but they didn't. And then, did my dad probably and different men didn't know to say, you know what, you're going back.
Mm.
And that's when I see stand up men in our community. I'm like, yes. Because, with women, we get that support a lot of times, not all of us. But with men, a lot of times, there's not a lot of support.
I'm still so as you're talking, I'm listening like she still led the way. You went to
Hmm.
college, and your siblings, whether they stayed or didn't, they went right where you went.
Yes.
It's like you led that you created a path for for
Hmm.
for them even. Okay, I'm seeing
Yes.
something here. I'm seeing the progression. I'm seeing the movement. We're gonna keep going.
Okay.
That's awesome. So yeah, so you went to school, you studied for social work. So I know that, we talk about your children, right?
Hmm.
For and your children being military. Pr- Princess is going in over there. Somebody
Hmm.
must be at the door.
Right?
But like you talk about your kids, right? And how your kids are all military
Mhm.
for the most part. Um, and I think about like I listen to them, like, obviously education is just really big in your family, right?
Absolutely.
It sounds like, for me, what I gather just from the outside looking in is discipline and education. Those
Mhm.
are the things that I see just based off of the career choices, honestly. But so you did your years in college, and then after college, what happened? What did life look for you at post university?
Okay, after college, I got a job at the juvenile probation um, office in Kansas City, Kansas, and I worked as a juvenile probation officer for about 3 years, and then I'm like, you know, this is not for me, and so I went on some other jobs. I worked for the United Parcel Service. I was a case manager, and I was still thinking, no, this is not what I wanted to do, I thought. And I even took a semester. My kindergarten teacher told me I should have been an attorney, so I took um, a semester of law, and then I was like,
Too much.
no.
Yeah.
And in between that time, I did get married.
Okay. That's what I was waiting
Hmm.
for.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. Tell us more.
Yeah. Yeah, I got married to Daryl Redmond.
How old were you when
And
you got married?
when I got married, I was about 26.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm. I got married to Daryl, and then it brought into my vision in terms of what black men go through. And
Mm.
Daryl was um, construction worker, and he would come home and say the white boys are hanging the noose from the tree, and they're really doing. And he would always be stopped by the police, and I couldn't. And we both driving home from work, and nobody stops me, but he would be stopped and would have to get out of the car. So that really enlightened me on what black men go through. And God bless all of our black men that are out here trying to make a difference. And yeah, so
This was in the Midwest.
this was in the Midwest in Kansas
Interesting. And
City.
what year was this? I just want to add some context to this when this was happening to Mr. Redmond and they were pulling him over and
This was back in, I want to say, um, the late 80s, because I started working for Sprint in 85.
and they were
Yeah.
still hanging people with the noose.
Yes, they were still putting noose and things like that in the tree and talking down, very
Making threats, pretty
disrespectful.
much. Not hanging people, just putting the noose on the
Yeah,
tree.
putting the noose in the
Okay.
tree. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank God they wasn't hanging. Yeah.
Thank God they weren't hanging. But that's
Hmm.
still that's a threatening act to do
Hmm.
that because they're trying to send a message.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which clearly it is 2025 and they're still doing the same thing.
Still doing the same thing. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for that perspective. But yeah, so you got a chance to understand what some of the brothers were dealing with during that time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were married for about 17 years, and we divorced. We had two kids, Chanel and DJ, and I lost my son, DJ. We lost our son, and I think um, with my ex-husband, I think it really wore heavily, on him.
Mm.
And my ex-husband remarried,
Hmm.
and just I want to give a testimony about the power, what God can do.
Yeah.
And first it was rocky
Well,
and
I'm sorry.
everything.
How long after you divorced did he remarry?
Mm, I would say maybe anywhere from 2 to 3 years after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good time.
And so the divorce was hard, and he remarried, and we were just like as a family in so much turmoil.
Yeah.
But just trusting God, and everything, how God worked that thing out. When we lost our son in 2020, we at that point said, no more. And we just came together, and he was very instrumental in leading that way as a family. And today, his ex-wife, is my sister. She comes down to visit, and her daughter, is my daughter, and Shell, and also her Shell's son is my grandson. And so we come together as a family. Even when I lost my son, one of my classmates said, "Now, which one is your daughter?" And I turned around, I was looking at Shell, and the spirit said, "This is your daughter." And then I pointed to Chanel, "That's my daughter." And so I just thank God because um, Margot, which was my ex husband's wife, she had gone through losing her son, and he was
Mm-hmm.
going to the University of Arkansas. And sometimes you don't know how that feels until you go through it as a parent yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I acknowledge that she lost her son, but when I lost my son, I'm just like, oh my God, I know now how she feels. And sometimes we tell people, I know how you feel. You don't know how a person feels until you walked in their shoes. And
Right.
so we have to give each other grace and compassion and listen to them. But my ex husband, he was just so instrumental in pulling us together. And so he passed away a couple months ago, and he was like the patriarch of the family. And I tell you, um, it has been devastating to all of us,
Mm-hmm.
and but I'm just so thankful. And him and I, we cried together, and talked about our mistakes that we made, and everything. And he said, most importantly, bringing us together as a family. So
Yeah.
I lost my son, DJ. Morgo lost her son, DeMorgo, and we have festivities, and we have pictures of our sons, and we cried together. We love on each other. And I just think I didn't even see that coming, even though I prayed and said, God, bring us together as a family.
Yeah.
And
Well,
sometimes,
you prayed.
yeah, when we pray, we have to believe and trust Him, and God did it. And
Yeah.
so I just want to encourage, if you're going through something with your family, trust God,
Trust God.
trust God and believe it, and just give God the praise like it's already done. Because sometimes we stay in the valley. Oh my God, this person and da 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 da. If you're gonna stay in the valley, God is gonna let you stay in the valley. But if you elevate your mind, get on a different frequency, I tell you, God will work things out. So as a family, we stand strong together, and you can't even come in between us. Our arms are locked in. And if
Locked in.
somebody try to come in and pull us apart, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And then along the way, I got two additional daughters, my daughter's best friends, Joetta,
Mhm.
and
She's in
also
Maryland,
Debbie.
right?
Hmm?
Joetta's in Maryland, I think, right?
Joetta's in Maryland, and she works for the federal government, and Deb is in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so thankful there. Just check on me, Ma. How you doing? Which is a
Yeah.
blessing.
I want to revisit something. We got to, because you were on a roll. I didn't want to stop you, but I had questions. So revisiting before DJ passed, and again, my condolences to you and your family on the loss of your son, on the loss of, is it Margot?
Yeah, Margot's son,
The loss of Margot's son
DeMargo.
and the loss of Mr. Redmond. I just want to send my sincerest condolences, to you and your family. But prior to DJ's passing, because it sounds like when he passed, that's when y'all said, you know what, we got to just come together as a family. But
Mhm.
prior to that, like, you know, there was a little bit of a riff, or was it just disconnected? Like, what was that experience? Because I know sometimes with our families, there's always something. You know, you have these
Hmm.
unique dynamics. But what was it like before y'all actually came together that made you say we need to come together?
Right. It's because we were, disconnected.
Okay.
For whatever reason, as a family, we were disconnected.
Yeah.
And like I talk about on SMI, we just need to love on each other,
Hmm.
accept the differences, and just be there. And who knew that, with my son passing, that's what we did. We just
Yeah.
came together. And even when my ex-husband passed, I told them at his funeral, I said, it's saying something about him when you have two ex-wives speaking at your funeral. Come on,
Right.
somebody.
Yeah.
Yes, and we stood together. Absolutely.
Staying together as one family.
One
You know,
family.
through the
Hmm.
good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
we just love on each other. They're calling, Margaret would call and check on me. I'll check on her, and she'll come here. And when she comes here, her spirit is just so calm. She said, you know, it's okay. We can sit here and we can just talk to and minister to each other, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so, we're not talking about our marriages or anything like that. We're just sitting here encouraging each other.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yes.
beautiful. It's be able
Mhm.
to. It's beautiful to be able to to be able to share that, right? Especially after years of disconnect. You know what it was like before. So you have
Yes.
just like you have the before and after photos.
Oh,
You have the before and
absolutely.
after experience. That's
Yes.
beautiful. Well, my prayer for you all is that the family, a family that prays together, stays together. That's one, and that
Hmm.
y'all are all able to maintain that family bond and that relationship that is developed. You have Chanel and Shell that attend Caffeine and Connections, and they are both such joys.
Hmm.
I'm so grateful that you introduced them to this platform because, when they're not there, the lack of their presence is definitely felt. So,
Absolutely.
they carry, even though Shell may not have come from you directly, they still carry your leadership traits and just
Yes.
in your spirit, in your
Yes.
your spirit. So you all have done a fine job with the ladies and being great examples. I have to say, this is obviously from the outside looking in, but thank you.
Absolutely. Because there's a song out there that says, "In my daughter's eyes." And so when I'm no longer here, I want you guys to still see me in my daughter's eyes.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Because I prayed this prayer myself specifically. How can I lead if my family is not behind me?
Mm.
And I think that was important. And I felt like, I'm just going to pray and believe God that He's going to work this out. That when you see me, you also see my family coming. And and I stood on that. I pushed back the plate. I fasted and prayed on that. I got real serious
Mhm.
about, family. And I love family, and I love the family that God gives me that's not my biological family, you know, because as elders, we ought to have something that we bring to the table to share with you and you that doesn't matter what it looks like. It's important to forgive. It's important to let go. That's how we get through, because um if we hold on to stuff, you know it's going to remain stuff and junk. That's like this preacher preached one time about this man. Everywhere he went, he had a bag of potatoes, and those bag of potatoes became stale and rotten, but he's still
Mm.
walking around. And sometimes we still walking around with junk and stuff. And I dare you to trust God and let go. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Let go. I think a lot of us can relate to that, and a lot of us probably need to do that. There's a lot of stuff that we hold on to from childhood traumas and situations and incidents that sometimes, parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles, whoever it was, maybe they just didn't know any better at that point.
Mhm.
But as we get older, as we become adults from our childhood, we learn from we you can see, right? Sometimes you just gotta let it go. Let
Mhm.
things be. Yeah.
Mhm.
So no, I received that message of letting go, and I hope other people that are watching this also receive that.
Yeah.
I do have another question for you before I let you go, and
Okay.
but before you even say that, let me say thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
yeah.
for your transparency and for sharing that testimony. I still feel like there's still so much more to it, but I want to ask because you have SMI, got that shirt on, Saturday
Mhm.
Morning Investors, right? Where we all get together at 9 o'clock a.m. on Saturdays. For those that don't
Yes.
know, Sherry hosts the Zoom, Lady Casey hosts the Zoom where we're learning about the stock market. And one thing that I noticed on those calls is your daughters show up, and
Mhm.
not just them, but like Chanel's husband shows up. So you have gotten your children very much involved in those things. So I wanted to ask you, with everything that you've done in this life, as far as business or professional, you know, how important is it that family supports your initiatives, or even, how do you feel about even in their involvement?
I am so happy because I feel like, that says a lot about us as a parent, as a person, when you have your family um, following you and catching on to the vision. It says a lot about us. And I tell people that it didn't happen overnight. You know, again, we must go back to really, you know, lifting those things up before God and trusting Him that He's going to do it with our families. And sometimes we forget that part right there. And just because it looks like it today doesn't mean it's going to look like what it is 2 years from now. So I think by, you know, making mistakes as parents, and I've made a ton of mistakes. And by, you know, sitting down with the family, talking to them, listening to them, and being a constant, on things that I believe in and everything, it lets them know that hey, maybe I should listen to mom, and I see that happening, and it just I'm so happy because when you have your family, if you don't have nobody else, it's like when we were growing up, we would be at a church and my dad would say, I need my family to come up and sing, and if it was only 3 or 4 people in the audience, I know it made him feel good that we would sing. And so I just hope that we can get other families to sing together, to pray together, and because it feels good and it gives you that added, when you see a person coming in their family, because we don't want our family to be lost and we don't want them to be left out. I mean,
Right.
this is an urgent time. And so, if we can do anything, is to make sure we stand on God's word and trust Him that, that our family will be right there with us.
Yes. I always
Hmm.
say family is the first ministry.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some people may not believe that way, believe that maybe because every family is different.
Mm-hmm.
Every family's situation is different. We know that there's different dynamics. That's what makes everyone unique.
I know. And then as a family, we have to look at those things that maybe cause division in our family. And
Hmm.
we have to, and I'm speaking to myself, we have to humbly come to people in our family and when we feel led and to sit and talk with them and understand that part because sometimes people hold in parts that happened 10, 15, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and sometimes we don't even know that they're holding that part. And so just to open ourselves up to hear,
Hmm.
what that part is. And
Yeah.
you can ask for forgiveness, and it's up to the other person. But, like you said, to me, family is so important. I love family. I love my biological family. I love the family that God gives me. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah. And there's there's so much I want to talk about when it comes to the family. It's just so many different interesting parts, right? The whole the loving family, sometimes loving from a distance part,
Mm-hmm.
because you have that aspect of it as well, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, but I think ultimately, the lesson here is just maintaining the relationships and I think that one thing that you said, I know that resonated with me is the forgiving, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can
Mm-hmm.
move forward. Sometimes you just have to. And you also have to take the time to forgive yourself just for holding on to the garbage that you've been
Mm-hmm.
holding on to, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's the burden that you're weighing yourself down. That other
Yeah,
person that you're mad at may not even know that you're mad at them.
that's right.
You weighing yourself down being mad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
And
thank you.
sometimes
Yeah.
they're waiting for us to come around and just talk to them on a serious level. But sometimes we don't want to hear what they have to say. But I think it's important that we hear, if you said this or if you done that. And that takes, a special um, person in us to trust God that I can keep my mouth closed and I can hear from my heart what this person is saying to me. Because sometimes when someone says something from their heart, we want to justify it and we want to talk over them. But just to hear them and let it resonate with your spirit,
Yeah.
is so important, you know, and that's what my daughter, Chanel, used to tell me. And mother, I want to share some things with you. We're on the same team. And time she started talking up, blah, blah, you know, but when I stop and I start listening, and just like now, as a family, we come together and things are said and things are done, but I'm listening from my heart and not being judgmental and to be able to understand. And then when it's time and the Spirit says speak, then that's when I speak. Otherwise, I'm not going to be running off at the mouth.
Were you gonna bounce out?
But I'm going to bounce out. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have to know when to bounce out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If somebody takes their time to say to you, this is what I'm feeling, to be able to listen, and we miss that part, and sometimes, when I say we, I'm including myself. Yeah, we miss that part.
Yeah. And some people are, I think listening is a skill because you
Mm-hmm.
can hear a person, but if you're not listening, it's definitely a skill and it's part of communication for understanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some
Absolutely.
people, when they say some people are not listening, they hear you, but not to understand you, but to respond or to react.
Right.
Yeah. So that's those defense mechanisms that folks are holding on to. You gotta let that go too, if you want it
Mm-hmm.
to be truly open, honest, and transparent within that dynamic. Yeah.
Right. I remember going to a therapist, and when um she was sharing with me, when a person tells you something, to say back to them what I hear you saying, and let that just resonate in your spirit.
Hmm.
That when I said this part right here, that really hurted me. And then that's an acknowledgement that you're hearing what that person is saying to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like you said, we think we're hearing, but we're not.
Right. We hear what we think. We hear sometimes what we want to hear.
Yes.
You know, or was some people say, "Oh, well, yeah, I heard you. I'm gonna paraphrase," which you said. Nope. I want you to tell me what I said.
Right, right.
Paraphrase.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Oh, this is so good. Thank you, Casey, for this. Anything else that you want to share? I mean, because I know family is so important, and I know that um, every family dynamic is different, and yours is very unique. And I love, your story about how, you know, both, your ex-husband, how y'all all both ex-wives came together, right? And you
Hmm.
guys get together for the holidays too, right?
Yes, we do.
See? Yeah. So
Yes,
like
we
anything
did.
else you want to share that maybe impactful for another family or another person that can, help them.
I think the most important thing is what was shared with me when the family was in turmoil. a person, I don't even remember who, said just because it's this way doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. Just keep praying and trusting God because God does the impossible. He really does. And I'm not a person that in church preaching or whatever, but I thank God for the spiritual relationship that I have with Him that, gives me that discerning spirit. And so I just say to any family, if He done it for us, He can also do it for you.
Yeah.
He can do it, but we have to let Him do it. Sometimes we want to, take the wheel and have the control. But sometimes God just wants us to step back in the midst of the storm. He
Ooh.
wants us to he
Yeah.
wants us to just know that we know, like Angie said, that it's going to be worked out. So because he's worked out so many storms in my life, I know without a doubt, whatever comes my way, I already know that God has it already worked out. And I just trust Him. And sometimes I'm silent because, in the midst of being silent, I'm praying and trusting God that you do the work. Because if I do it, I'm going to make a mess of it. But
Ooh.
you do it. And so, and
Every
I just
time.
want you to watch as you do that, apply that to your life. Watch God bring your families together. And as people of color, we need our families to come together more now than any time in our lives. Come together and love on each other, cry with each other, pray with each other. And to me, that's the key.
And get money together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get
Saturday
money
morning
together.
investor. Yeah,
Saturday
get money
morning,
together.
shameless plug. Saturday morning investor, Zoom. Tap into. I'll post your information for the Saturday morning investor into the YouTube, um, so they'll have that link. Or
Okay.
would you want to provide the Zoom link or just your information?
Mm, I think just I'm thinking just my information,
Okay, we'll do
and
that. We'll
then we
post
can.
it. Yeah,
Hmm.
so they can reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get more
Please do.
information. Yeah, get your families together. And Kathleen, shameless plug for her, we're gonna give her an honorable mention. Kathleen Warren, who's creating her family guide, her guide for families, so they can learn how to um, become educated together on investing. So yeah,
Absolutely, because this information is here, and now is the time for us to jump on. And that's why, Angelina, I love your group coming on and meeting people from all over, Black professionals from all over, Black, Brown, and that we can come together and support each other, lift each other up. And
yes,
that's what it's all about. We don't need to really knock each other out. We just need to lift each other up at a time like this and love on each other, create family, be
yes.
family.
Yeah, y'all are definitely my favorite part of the week. I tell you, I look forward to Friday mornings just so I can connect with all of you because, you know, life is life, but to be able to have this community where we connect, and a lot of times it's a new person or a couple new people, so it's just, and I'm not. People think I'm an extrovert, Casey. Maybe once upon a time I was, but but I thrive off of this community. Like it definitely fills my cup week over week. So for those who have not joined Caffeine and Connections on a Friday morning at 8, come on through. It's like Shannon said, it's like the cookout.
Absolutely.
You are invited to the cookout.
Absolutely. And
So
sometimes, as people, we are the bridge that, people are looking and they're coming over into the group and everything. And we play different parts, and that's good. We love
yeah,
on each other. And Angie, before got in the group, I heard about you and see what you're doing. And as an elder, I think it's so important that, because you guys, uplift me. And when I see what you're doing, I'm just so happy, because I don't want to be sitting on the sideline trying to yarn and that's good. And a lot of young folks, but I want to be a part of the movement.
no,
Mm.
as just the same for yours, you know.
Hmm.
I gained so much knowledge. I knew a little bit, just probably just enough to do a few little trades, make a little bit of money. That's how I relocated to Florida when I did, from 2020, investing in Moderna and a couple other, some Robinhood.
Yes.
But and having my little acorns account.
Right,
The
right.
401k. But I have learned so much on Saturday mornings and just showing up. Sometimes I'm working or on my way to a gig, but I tap in and I'm listening in, mental
Hmm.
notes, if I can't write anything down, it's just, and then that telegram is so important. So Missy, she says she's only attended like maybe one of the calls, but she taps into that telegram and she has done
Absolutely.
spectacular with her investment account. So yeah,
Hmm.
y'all get in. Y'all come on
Yeah,
now.
that part. And like I said, some of us haven't even known each other for a year yet. And
Mm-mm.
God blessed us with Dre. He's a financial advisor, and things are moving so that he's having to go into the office. And then we have Ken and Kathleen, and Ken has been investing for 44 years that we can sit at the feet of different ones and learn.
Yeah,
And he says, look, listen, and learn.
yeah,
And it's so important,
yeah,
that we come together because the other folks come together all the time.
yeah.
Look at CNBC, look at Yahoo Finance, and look at some of these other groups. They're networking. And I don't ever want us to be a part of a group or something that we're fighting each other. No, let's love on each other and let's get this information that we can move forward with our families.
And people are sharing information. There's
Yes.
no gatekeeping. There's no gatekeeping in here. It's about sharing. And again, like you said, look, listen, and learning. No matter how long you've been investing your money, I've heard, I don't know who it was last week. She said that she's been investing for about 40 years, but she's always learning something new. Things are always
Mhm.
going to change. So nothing
Absolutely.
stays the same. So anyway, I'm absolutely grateful for you, that I met you, and I appreciate you showing up week over week, even when you're busy on vacation, you still show up. And even like Marquetta, honorable mention for her. I didn't even know Marquetta that long before when you asked who the movers and shakers. When you said that surprised me because I had just met her not that long ago
Hmm.
at that time. So I'm grateful for her as well for seeing me.
Yes.
She clearly saw me. She's a seer anyway, spiritually.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
But yes. So this was a beautiful conversation, Lady Casey. Thank you again. This is our family edition of our Caffeine and Connections highlight. I thank you all for tuning in, listening to Lady Casey and I. And hey, Casey, you never know. We might have a whole nother edition that we come out and talk about in the near
Oh,
future.
absolutely. And thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for sharing your story. That's what it's all about. We want people to
Yes.
know more about you and what you're doing and where, the history, your story.
Yes. Thank
All
you.
right. Have a blessed one and talk to you soon.
Okay.